Do us a big favor, take a moment to subscribe to the United Nations of Horror right here on YouTube, and don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us. Thanks so much, and now, let's get on with the show.
Welcome on, bienvenue, welcome to the United Nations of Horror with your host Mark and Jason. Hi Jason.
Konnichiwa, Mark. Konnichiwa to our audience. Got to add a little Tokyo flavor in there for everybody.
Nice. So we're talking about quite the film.
Today. Man.
Everyone, obviously, if you're listening, it'll tell you what film we're covering. But we're covering Sinners from this year, 2025.
Hey there. We heard tale of a party.
You did?
You wouldn't mind us coming in now, would you? We hungry as dogs.
Woof, woof.
You fellers must be the owners of this establishment.
That's right. And you are?
We just came here to play. Here, I'll show you. Pick poor, I've been clean. Pick poor, I've been clean. I picked his head, I picked his feet. I would have picked his body, but it wasn't fit to eat. Let's go now. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da da
da. We gonna kill every last one of you.
Sinners. New trailer coming soon.
What a film.
I actually went to see it at the cinema and was really pleased I went to the cinema. Absolutely loved it. And I've got a story about I spent a lot of money after seeing it on something I really always wanted, but this film basically pushed me over the edge. Well, I'll tell you what it is. A steel guitar. I bought myself a steel guitar.
Now, I knew this already because you had mentioned it to me, but I don't think our audience would have known.
Maybe I should post a photo, right?
Yeah, definitely, man.
But I've been playing the guitar for decades. I'm not very good, but I do play regularly. I used to be in bands, actually, but I'm not in bands anymore. I just play for my own pleasure, really. But I've always wanted to have a steel guitar, and I've always wanted to learn slide guitar. And the sounds of the guitars in this film, it's like, I've got to get it. And I'll tell you what, it does not disappoint. It sounds great. It's easily my favourite instrument to play. I play mostly the guitar, but I do play the bass and things like mandolin and ukulele. And I'm learning the piano as well.
Wow. I had no clue, Mark.
But yeah, it sounds like out of this world. And I'll play you a sample, but I'm not used to. I kind of know that these apps, these apps for recording tend to have like a music filter on. So when you place an instrument, you hear nothing.
And there's a huge musical element to this film that I guess I had seen the trailer going in, and I think it was some months ago when I saw the trailer, and I thought, oh wow, this looks cool. And I mean, for me, of course, anything that has to do with vampires, that's my favorite monster. Obviously, everyone knows. My previous name when we started this show was Lucard. So. I loved the Dracula and all of these spooky films. So,
and this film is something, because from the trailer I wasn't sure what it was going to be about, and I purposely avoided spoilers, other than I knew it was a horror film. It was kind of clear from the chat that I'd mostly avoided it was a horror film. So it was quite nice. In many respects, structurally, it reminded me of Dusk Till Dawn,
Yes.
The first half of the film is one thing. I mean, it's quite a serious, intense drama, almost, crime drama. For the first half, and then it swerves, and racism, things like that. It's set in the Mississippi Delta in the 30s?
I believe it's the 30s. Yeah.
Poor place, but it's got a lot of atmosphere, and obviously the unbelievable level of racism, segregation and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm certainly, being from the American South, very familiar with that racism. And, I mean, it's unfortunate that we're still having to talk about these things today, but it's still very prevalent even now. So I think that, but I will say that we'll talk about the box office numbers more, but given the tremendous success of this film, not just for horror films, but as a film. It's wonderful to see art like this as a film and as just the music in the film. It's wonderful to see all that bringing people together.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It was really something. I really loved the use of music in this film, but we'll get into certain scenes. There's one amazing set piece right in the middle of the film that's just when at the cinema it's like, what the hell's going on? I remember and then thinking, oh my god, this is fantastic. It's almost like the old-fashioned musicals where they'd have a dream sequence.
oh yeah,
Gene Kelly would somehow be in like a New York and start dancing around as a noob, right, in town. And it was kind of a touch like that. But anyway,
yeah.
Let's get into the beats of the film. Well, I won't go into the story details too much, but it's just marvelous the level of characterization going on, and the casting in this film is unbelievably good. It's basically Michael B. Jordan plays twins, two roles. And when I went to see it, initially I thought, wow, they've got someone who looks almost exactly like Michael B. Johnson. They're playing with Michael B. And then I realized, oh, it's him twice, right?
Now, I was going to ask, were you aware that Michael B. Jordan was playing both twins?
Oh, sorry, Jordan, not Johnson. No. So when it started, it was like, wow, have they got a guy that looks exactly like him? Because that's amazing. But the thing is, he was stylistically, he was done up in a different way, different color hat, different colors, which made it like, it looks almost exactly the same, but it's not quite. But then it's like, yeah.
Right.
He plays a pair of twins called Smoke and Stack, right? Who we do find out are World War One veterans. That is hardcore, right?
Oh,
These guys are tough. And they've also been working in Chicago. With the likes of Capone, there's talk of that.
They've worked for the Italians and the Irish mob, I believe, both.
Yes,
which is man, that's
these are
pretty
tough
hardcore.
guys,
and also, and to be black in that era, and to have worked for they're essentially playing both sides, right? As we get from newspaper clippings and things.
Yeah, we get that impression. But I do like there's one bit where one of the things, this is about a character called Sam, who is working working with his family picking cotton, right? And he's done his shift, and his dad's a preacher. And he's got a guitar. He's got this fantastic resonating guitar, and he knows how to use it, right?
Oh,
he's the cousin of Smoke and Stack, and they're basically back in. They've been war and Chicago, and they've come back. And there's a great line that somebody goes, "Is it true in Chicago a black man's kind of free?" And he goes, "Chicago goes just the same as Mississippi, except instead of fields, there's tall buildings." That's what he says. But these guys take no crap from anyone, do they?
No.
White or black. They just do not take. And in fact, it starts with them. Well, it doesn't start with them, but they're buying a meal. They basically want to create a juke, a sort of nightclub, a club, in the middle of nowhere for people to come to, and they have to deal with a white guy and vote from a white guy, and they do not mess with him. At one point he calls them boy, which he goes, "There ain't no boys here, just men." And they're not messing around. He goes, "It's just a turn of phrase." He goes, "Well, yeah, but here's our money. That's the last you're getting out of us. If we see you on our land ever again, you or your clan friends out ever again, we're going to blow your head off." And it's like, there's no clan around here.
Yeah, the guy's like, oh, yeah, no clan, And of course, this guy seems like a pretty shifty character, to say the least.
It turns out he's the head of the clan in the local area.
Indeed, yeah.
And this isn't a sow. It's basically a trap. That they're going to go back, but the clan the guys kind of know that, or they realise it, and they're ready. They're ready. Right?
And the crazy thing about that scene is I never would have imagined we would see that guy again. But this film manages to do a lot of things like that. It's a very unique way of telling a story. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Mark, but it's just such a like an unusual method of storytelling where it in some ways like we do feel like okay, it's like From Dusk Till Dawn, but then it has all these other elements just like sprinkled in there,
music.
almost like Easter eggs
Yeah,
that you know.
I have to say the music elements to this horror film. I can't. The only other horror film that uses music in so effectively and so intrinsically as part of its DNA is probably the first Wicker Man. The Wicker Man from '73. That uses folk music really well and
Oh
strongly
yes,
as
that's
part
a
of its
great film.
structure. And when I saw this, it's like, wow, this is this is the closest I've ever seen a film come to the Wicker Man vibe in terms of the use of music. It was quite amazing, and the combination of direction, casting, writing, and so on, really blew me away. Now I've watched this, so this is my second watch. You've come to it for the first time for this recording, right?
Indeed,
So
yeah.
how? I mean, you liked it, I guess.
Oh my gosh, I was I'm just blown away. I think, and I mean, I'll get into this more when we talk about our score, but I'll just go ahead and say, like, I think it is probably the best horror film I've seen in a long time. And we talk about a lot of horror, and we like a lot of current horror, as well as older horror. But as far as like modern day horror films, I think it's really a cut above the rest, in my opinion.
Yes, it really is. It's probably the best horror film since I'd say since Pearl for me.
Yeah, you
Um,
know what? I think I would agree with that. It
yeah.
really it really does have that just that quality about it.
Was there anything you did? Let's get any negatives out of the way early. Was there anything you didn't like about it? Was there anything where it's like, I'm not sure, or was it you? Was it like a great? Was there
It
nothing that caught you up at all?
Nothing that really bugged me about it at all. I mean, it just really it's one of those films, you just watch you certain films and you're just like, okay, that was almost like a religious experience, you know. This had that vibe for me. I've always been like I like the blues and
Yeah,
like
I love the blues.
jazz
I
and
play when I play the guitar on my own. I usually play the blues, usually,
nice.
and I've
Yeah.
been doing that for decades,
And
right?
that's it's wonderful music, it's and then to have that incorporated with vampires, I mean, and all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other horror elements, I was just like this is a masterpiece. And I
yeah. And
I
I
don't use
like,
that word lightly.
yeah. I have to say, when I first saw it at the cinema, I didn't like the last few scenes. I felt that they just extended too far.
Oh, when
Um,
it goes into
and we
the
won't go into. I won't go into
yeah,
too
yeah,
much. We'll get into it
right.
though.
Yeah, I won't say
So
anything
I
just
felt
yet.
like it just went on a couple of scenes too long. Otherwise,
Okay.
it would have been perfect. It was my feeling when I first saw it. However, on rewatch, don't care, like it all, more the better.
Nice. That's
So
kind of how I felt, like the more the
yeah,
better.
and
Yeah.
actually, there is quite something really important in both scenes I'm talking about. So I think I was just probably a bit. It's quite a long film. It's 2 hours 20, and it was a bit case of you should end now when I was feeling a bit tired. But on rewatch, no, I definitely don't feel like that. I thought it was a masterful film, really well directed, well acted, well cast. Music was what made me laugh. Is the musical stuff is all arranged by a Swedish guy, which really made me laugh because
Yeah,
it
I was
sounds so
surprised by
good.
that too.
Yeah, it's amazing because I feel like he's got that Mississippi sound down really well
I thought so
throughout this
too.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel
Um,
like the director and I don't know how responsible he was for casting and making decisions like okay, who's going to do the music, but whoever decided that, whether it be the director or not, um man, just a tremendous job. This is the first Ryan Coogler. I think that's how you pronounce his last name.
yeah,
This is the
Coogler. Yeah.
first Ryan Coogler film I've seen. How about you, Mark? Have you
Oh,
seen any of his other?
I've definitely seen like Wakanda. I've definitely seen Creed, and I
Yeah,
really like Creed.
I want to see
Um,
that at some point.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of familiar. And him and Michael B. Jordan work together really well. He captures the energy.
Yeah,
Sorry, Michael B. Jordan's got a really particular energy that is really strong. He reminds me quite a lot of a younger Denzel Washington in his energy.
Yeah, yeah.
Denzel Washington in Malcolm X, for example, right? It's got that kind of energy, and
Oh,
Michael
and
B.
that's a
Jordan's
great film.
really good. Yeah, it is. Michael B. Jordan's really got the energy, but I have to say, Sammy, the guy playing Sammy, Miles Caton, was excellent. He looked
Yes.
to me, he was playing that guitar for real. He looked to me, he was singing for real, and that was his voice. It sounded great.
Oh, what a voice. And what
Yeah,
a guitar play. I mean, unbelievable.
yeah,
Um,
fantastic guitar playing and sound. And then the rest of the cast are great. I mean, there was Mary, who first appeared to be a white woman, but turns out she was somewhat mixed, sort of mixed race.
right.
She was Haley Steinfeld, who I know from probably mostly best from Pitch Perfect series, which is a series I quite like. She's quite good in that. She also was the young girl in the remake of True Grit, and that was really well played. She was
Oh,
very young in that. She was
wow,
very
that's
good in
what I
that.
know her from is
Yeah,
wow, she's certainly grown up to say the least.
yeah.
She's gorgeous, very
Yeah,
gorgeous.
but I like the rest of the cast. I thought they were just really solid.
Everybody,
The old
yeah.
blues guy, Delta Slim,
Yeah.
amazing. He
Oh,
could play the blues on the
yeah.
piano, harmonica. He just lived to drink, and he does explain why he's got no more ambition anymore. Quite a tragic story about his friend who had some ambition and got some money together and tried to get the train out. Got lynched because someone
Yeah.
spotted he had a lot of money and just made up a story about him.
Yeah. And
Really,
that
really
that
sad.
stuff that kind of stuff really
Oh,
it
I know.
happened back.
I know.
It's a sad, sad part of American history,
Yeah, yeah.
and anyone who knows me knows that I'm one of those people that I'm just like I don't understand racism. I think it is absolutely crazy. And
I fail to understand it as well. I kind of
yeah,
understand it when people are from a different place. I kind of get that. Not that I agree with
right.
it, but when people are living alongside you, it's like
Exactly.
you're
That's the
not.
thing.
That's the thing that people mixing decreases racism in England anyway, in Britain and in Europe. It's my belief. Maybe I'm being a bit too positive about it. I don't know, but I think mixing really helps combat racism, right?
I think so too. Yeah, because when
Living among each other. Yeah,
Exactly. I mean, I went to school in the 90s and many of my peers are black African American
yeah,
people, and to this day I have wonderful friends who I consider like family who are black African American, whatever term you want to use. And so to me, having grown up with those, with other people, other cultures, whether they be black or Asian or anything, it's just it's crazy to think that there's hatred for other people like that. But it happened in the American South where I'm from, and it's
yeah.
certainly a blight on American history. But it's good that we're exploring it in film, I think, and that
Yeah, I
that
think the level explored in this film is about perfect. It
I think
doesn't.
so. It doesn't
Yeah, you
preach,
don't want to be preached, but you want to
right?
understand that it's just an endemic thing, right? It's just an endemic thing. And it's
Yeah,
interesting when sort of white people want to come in, and they're like, it's not just a case of you can't come in because you're white. So, well, what happens if someone knocks over their drink, looks at the woman different? We don't
yeah,
want to have that issue in this place. It's kind of that, isn't
exactly.
it? Yeah. So Smoke and State want to set up this joint and do it up and have it, and Sammy has been working hard all week and wants to go play, but his father gives him a load of. The opening of the film's kind of interesting. We see Sammy. I mean, you've got no context. Sammy just comes in a car, rocks up in a car, back to his the church where his father's preaching, and he's got a big gash across his face. He's holding a bit of a guitar. It's not even a whole guitar.
Right.
And he's covered in blood. And his father's like, "Let go of the guitar, son. Let your sins go." And he's standing there on the edge, thinking about it. Right.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I
it
think
cuts to 24 hours earlier, and his two cousins are back in town. They got a truck full of Irish beer and whiskey and all sorts. And it does start in. They turn up in town, And one of them, I can't remember if it's Smoke or Stack, you'll have to forgive me, says to this young girl, says, yeah, you want to make some money? I want you to watch the car. But he doesn't just say, here's some money. He introduces the idea of haggling. I think he shows he wants people to think for themselves and be bold. He's sort of saying, I just offer you 10 cents. Why don't you make me a counter offer? She's saying 50 cents. He goes, 20. Deal. So for every minute
cool.
she's watching him out and she gets 20 cents. And indeed, he goes in and starts making a deal in a Chinese family, right? Chinese family.
Indeed.
And we get that wonderful shot of the daughter walking across the the road, just dusty road, no tarmac, just sort of mud and hard ground, to another shot where her mum is, to ask her mum to go back. And so we get a tracking shot of following the girl over to the other shop and then the mum coming back. And meanwhile, just before that, someone was messing with the van and the girl pipped the horn, and Smoke or Stack, and I can't remember which one, comes out and just shoots the guy messing with his van. And the guy's like,
shoots him right in the butt.
Yeah, right. Goes like, I didn't know it was your van. And the girl's like, he's lying. I told him it was yours. Because I thought she was lying. And he's really peeved. But this guy's kind of knows him as his friend. So he shoots in the other guy that was looking at him in the knee. And
yeah, he's hardcore. Stone
they're basically
cold.
just shooting people with 45, right? Yeah, and then, but he does sort of give the guy and the family that run the shop some money to nurse these guys, but he goes, we can't have anyone saying any sort of, and there is, the N word is used in here within the black community.
Right.
But that's fine, that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's realistic.
That's their privilege, and it's realistic, right?
Right, exactly.
And suitable for the time period as well. But he goes, I don't want any, dude saying he got one over on me. We don't want anyone talking about that, so they have to just shoot people if they mess with them, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think they have that almost kind of gang mentality because, I mean, obviously they've been up in Chicago, so it's like, okay, we are gonna this is our thing. We're not gonna let anyone take advantage of us.
And it does appear through this. Well, it's not a big thing, but it does appear through the story that they've basically left Chicago stealing all this beer and whiskey and stuff,
right?
To set themselves up, and just leaving it behind. They've just decided to come back, and they get asked, "Why'd you come back?" He goes, Chicago, Mississippi, at least we know the devil here, right?
I like that line. Yeah. I was like, because even though, and I mean, it's terrible, we had the Jim Crow laws here, but, up north, there was still racism, and they are, this film is very real about that, which I think is good.
And these guys actually succeeded in Chicago despite being black. So, I mean, they must have been twice as hardcore as anyone else to be given a shot, even, given a chance. We know these guys are super tough and know their business. And also, we also see they work well together. Like at one point, they open up the back of the van and there's a rattler. And by just a nod, one throws the other a big blade to stab the snake in the head. Right.
That was a cool scene too.
Yeah. So we know that they're real business. These guys.
Yeah. And I think anyone who, I mean, I can't imagine for a twin, but I'm very close with my my younger brother. We're 2 years apart, and people say we sound alike. We have the same mannerisms. We are very much alike. And so to be a twin, apparently it's an even closer bond, and I feel like this film captures that very, very well.
Yeah, there's a lot of. It is very show don't tell. They just show you how people are, and you kind of infer a lot. But they do go into town, and they also go find Delta Slim, this old blues guy, because they want someone to play, and they start making him offers, and he goes, yeah, that's bullshit. You'll give me $20 today, but I've got a regular steady thing. They give me as much corn liquor as I want. Give me $10, and it's regular work. And he goes, well, I'll give you 20. And then it's like, "Oh, we got this Irish beer here," and they pull out a bottle of beer, and he has a sip, and he goes, "I tell you what, I'll give you $40, and you can finish that beer if you play tonight." They catch him that way, right?
They
And
do, yeah.
it's funny at one point. Um, Stack, or I'm going to confuse you two. Stack says to Sammy, "Go on, play the guitar. Show me you're a bluesman." And he's like, "You play that guitar here, boy. I'll cut you. I'll cut your hide right off. This is my stand. No one plays the blues around here except me." So there's
Yeah.
all that going on.
Don't mess with that old guy.
Yeah, and they also in town run into this the girl Mary, who they think is and Sammy's like, "There's a white woman looking at you," and he says, "Does she look like this?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah, oh shit." And she comes over, and it's basically they obviously had a relationship, and in fact, her mother raised Smoke and Stack.
Indeed, yeah.
And so, but she's had a relationship with Stack, and she sort of has a real go at him. And she said, I didn't think." And Stack's like, "I didn't think you were in town." He goes, "Yeah, I'm here to I buried my mother yesterday." And he goes, you see, you didn't send any flowers." He goes, "We sent plenty of flowers when she was alive, when she could appreciate them." So
Which
they
is the way to
obviously,
do it. Yeah.
yeah, obviously they did you know, appreciate what was done to them. Again, just a single line to fill that out, but that's all we need for these guys. So basically, they're setting up the gig, and it's all coming along. We're getting backstories. We're understanding where these twins have come from. We understand with the scene with the guy they bought the barn off. They're still, you know, there's always the threat. But these guys are capable of dealing with anything that comes their way. They just know. In fact, they talk about, "Did you bring the case?" "What? The case?" "Oh, you didn't bring the case." They've obviously got a case of guns or something, you know, but they know what to do. And they're recruiting people. And then they go and see another guy's working in the field and sort of say, "We need we need a bouncer, basically," and
Yeah.
start.
I
So,
like this guy.
This guy's goes, "I'm gonna whop the black right out of your hide," when he says something about his wife. He says, "Your
Oh
wife
yeah,
might
he's mad.
if you with the money we're going to give you, my wife might even let you do something." I'm not going to say
Yeah,
it.
right,
He goes,
right.
"Right, I'm going to." And then the wife says, "Hold on, how much money are you talking?" And Stack's like, "Now that's a good woman."
I like that line too. That's a good woman. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean, one of the brothers is saying, "Look, we haven't got time to do this place up. Let's open it next week." He goes, "We're open tonight. We open tonight, right? We're getting it all done tonight, sorting it out." Meanwhile, right, so that's all fine, and that's going along. So that's your standard crime drama, interesting, intriguing drama going on. But then we see a guy running across the desert. The sun's going down slowly, but it's in the sky a bit. I think it's gone down, but let's do a bit of sun. But this guy's kind of smoking and burning at the shoulders as he's running, and he goes and knocks on the door. And there's a couple in there who got guns on him and said, "Please, these Indians, I'll use the word from the film, are chasing me. I need some help." And he goes, "No, there ain't no what do they call them? There ain't no Choctaws around here for 100 miles." Because
Right.
they're chasing me down. And as he's talking, he looks into the house and he sees there's a KKK, robes on a
Right.
chair. But he says nothing about it, but he kind of understands a bit more of the nature of these people. And so he starts talking away.
And what's interesting about this, Mark, is this guy is Irish, and
yeah, it's Irish.
so there, and it's interesting because there was a lot of racism towards Irish
The Irish,
immigrants
yeah.
back then.
Yeah, the famous
But-
sign, wasn't it? No dogs, blacks, or Irish.
Yes, that is the exact sign.
Yeah.
But the Klan, what's crazy is that they would overlook the Irish. They would allow Irish people into the Klan as long as they hated black people, which is I know sounds crazy, but that's how it was. I was not aware of that until watching a video actually about this. So I found that kind of fact to be interesting because while I did know that there was racism towards Irish people, I did not realize they would kind of turn a blind eye, so to speak, and allow them in the Klan. So craziness.
Another bit of setup in the film was also Sammy does talk to this woman called Annie, who not Annie, sorry, Perline,
Yes, Berlin.
who he's interested in. She's kind of interested in, but it turns out she's married, and he goes happily. He goes, "You be careful, son. You might bite off more than you can chew." And stuff like that. So there's that. I must have to add, the film actually starts with setting up a major premise of this story, which is. It starts with like drawn pictures, and they're talking about there are certain things in this world where music reduces. Basically, it's inferring that music somehow becomes a way of reducing the barriers between the worlds.
Yeah.
You know,
Before we get into that, Mark, let's take a quick break here, and we will return.
I've been all over this world. I seen men die in ways I ain't even know was possible. Love you, brother. Be careful. I will. With all the things that I've seen, I ain't ever seen no demons, no ghosts, no magic. Till now. You get back inside.
Let me in, man. Some weird shit going on out here.
You keep dancing with the devil. One day he's gonna follow you home.
Okay, and we are back.
There's all this bits being put together to sort of build up to the Duke, the night of the Duke, right?
Yes.
Which is it Smoke or Stack? I can never get. I think it's Smoke. Goes and sees a woman a woman that he had a relationship with, who's like a hoodoo practitioner. She, a white witch kind of woman, selling sort of remedies and stuff. Who's called Annie. Right?
Yes.
And it turns out, and he's visiting a grave. It turns out their baby daughter died. But she also intimates that her magic, her abilities have been protecting the twins, though. It's not that. The fact that their own daughter died suggests it's not that powerful to him. There is that, right? So there's that going on.
He's an interesting guy because it seems like he sort of believes it's like the old X-Files thing, like I want to believe, but so she's got that charm that she's given him, and
we see her selling remedies to some little girls, for their mother, things like that. There's also the guy we mentioned, the Irish fella. They do let him in, and we see that the Choctaw Indian vampire hunters are actually trying to track him down, and they come and knock on the door, and their answer is, you know, 2 rifles in the face. But he keeps his composure, doesn't he? The guy, he says, "Evening, ma'am." And they ask, "If you've let someone in, they're not what they seem. You really need to let us come in." And they're like, "No, you get lost. There's no one here." But the sun's going down, and his friend says something, and they just leave. And that's the last we see of them. But they have let this guy in. And then the next scene in that house is it the husband? I can't remember now. Either the husband or the wife looking for the other partner, and then coming into a room and seeing the Irish guy with blood all down his face sitting in the rocking, which I felt was a nod to Salem's Lot. There's a bit where Jeffrey Lewis is a vampire in a rocking chair in Salem's Lot that's really scary, and this scene reminded me of that really a lot. And I like how
that's a good point.
Vampires, when they get inflamed, they just drool uncontrollably. It's kind of disgusting.
Almost like a wild dog.
Yes, it is like a dog seeing a bit of meat it can't get to, just drooling.
Yeah.
Kind of amazing. So that sets that. We know this man has either killed this couple or, you know, actually they become vampires, right? We haven't dropped any spoiler warnings. Yeah, we should mention this.
We probably should, spoilers. We've already got into it a little bit. So,
earlier.
Yeah.
So then the Duke starts and the music starts and people are coming in and paying them dues. One of the contentions is one of the guys wants to pay with wooden nickels. It says is good money down there. One of the twins does not like this. The other says, "We got to let it go, right? This is our first night. We got to get, people in." But it's a concern, right? But man, does this rock when the music starts? This absolutely rocks. Both Delta and Sammy.
I love it.
Yeah, man. And Sammy's song is amazing. And this is where we get to the fantasy sequence. What an amazing sequence.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Definitely a highlight for the film. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. And it really struck me how, music really does sort of connect us to our ancestors as well as to different cultures.
It's not just one culture. I mean, there is a mention. Delta does talk about something. He goes, that religion stuff, they foisted it on us when we got here, but the blues we bought with ourselves, right? We brought that with us.
Indeed, yeah.
And that's kind of what's hinted at here. And basically we see while the gig's going on, all these characters from different eras, different cultures just dancing around within the beat, right? So there's Chinese, Japanese, there's different parts of Africa, West Africa and North Africa, and you can tell it's just different cultures. Aborigines, Australian Aborigines, all sorts. There's kind of like Irish dancers. There's all sorts going on within this one song, and it's amazing. It's such an amazing sequence.
It really
one of the great scenes of cinema, I've got to say.
Yeah. I completely agree.
It's amazing. Just it comes out of nowhere. I was like, I think I sat there open mouthed.
I was the same way, Mark. Just like open mouth, like, oh my God, that was so cool. Like,
yes, it was great.
I don't know how else to describe. Just amazing. And I hope I'm not overplaying it, but I would already. I mean, if you can't tell, we like the film, so definitely go see it. And really, you should probably stop now and you should go watch it before you finish this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's available on streaming, but I myself have ordered almost immediately when I got home from seeing it. I ordered the 4K version, which unfortunately doesn't come out until January. It says on Amazon. It may be that's a placeholder and it'll come out before Christmas. Seems the obvious time to release something like this if you're going to do it, right?
I would think so.
Not in January, but it was such a great looking film and it's a great sounding film and so on. So yeah, really enjoyed this. But what a sequence, right? But then the issues start building. We see some violence. There's a bloke going on about his loaded dice being used and pulls out a razor, which the twins shut down immediately, right?
Oh, yeah.
Things like that. But then these 3 white people turn up. Oh, Mary comes to the gig. Annie comes to the gig. Perline comes to the gig. Cornbread's on the door. Slim's on the piano and the harmonica. And of course, Sammy's playing the guitar.
Yeah, Cornbread's my favorite character. Well, maybe not my favorite character in this, but he
He's
really,
good. He's very
I
good.
love that actor. He's awesome. I'd watch him, I
Yeah.
think, in just about anything.
Yeah, he's kind of cool. He's got a Forrest Whitaker vibe about him.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
find. But yeah, then these three people turn up: the Irish vampire and the couple. We know they're vampires, we know, right? But they just turn up, and they turn up with instruments, and they're sort of saying, "Hey, we're musicians. We heard you." And I have to say, throughout the film, after that point, the Irish Remick is his name. He keeps hinting that Sammy was the one that attracted him there.
Indeed.
It's you. It's his music. The music is attracting creatures from beyond. Basically, it's ethereal.
And I think that's kind of a cool thing too, because there
really
are
is.
those people in reality who can just like the sound they can make is so unique. And like I say, it brings together people from everywhere. Doesn't matter what culture. I guess Michael Jackson is a great example, right? Like just a guy with so much talent, and I think anyone who hears someone like that and appreciates music, you can't stop but listen. So yeah, he's got that ability to just bring together otherworldly forces. He's so good. And I gotta say, wow, what a voice he has again.
Yeah. So they turn up, these three turn up, and they're sort of saying, "We like music, maybe we can play." And they start playing this silly little song, like we fed on. I can't remember, fed on Paulie or something. I can't remember now, but it was funny. It's like a little jig kind of song with their, they've got little like ukuleles and guitars and things, and they're just playing, and it's good. They do a good job.
Yeah,
and
it's a catchy little ditty.
Cornbread's the one that calls people out, and they listen. They kind of like it, and they say, "No, why don't you go back into town? There's white places there." And because is it a colour? He goes, "No." Well, they basically turn them away, but they to each other they're like, "What happens if they come in and someone looks at their woman funny, or someone spills their drink? We got a whole world of pain then."
Yeah.
So they turn them away, but they're saying we got good money. And then they say, and Mary's there talking to him. How come she's allowed in? She's what they said. She's family. And he goes, okay, all right. And then in the end, they say, all right, we're leaving, but we're going to walk real slow so you can think about it. So they just walk a little way off and sit down. And Mary's like, okay. And one of the issues comes because of the people playing with wooden nickels, and it's kind of, they obviously not got real money. The twins then realise they're not going to make any money out of this. They just can't if no one's paying with real money.
Right. Plantation owners would really kind of do that kind of stuff back then. They would give, like what they would call like store credit, and so like you could spend it with the owners of the plantation, but it was still basically slavery.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So Mary's like, well, look, there's people with money out there. Shall I just go check it out? And she goes out, and they're playing these really pretty little songs, right? Really pretty. And Mary's kind of taken with them, and she says, "Yeah, we got money." And he kind of holds out his hand with all these old-looking gold coins, but it is gold, right? Mary's like a bit confused by this, and she mentions, "I just buried my mother." Goes, "Oh, that's a terrible thing." And they're playing more songs, but they keep touching her in a kind of odd way and making her feeling a bit uncomfortable. But then Remick starts drooling, doesn't he? He literally starts drooling.
Oh yeah, like crazy amounts.
She pulls out a gun and goes, "I'm going back in now. Why don't you guys move on? Go on your way."
Right.
And as she walks off, we see that from her front, we see the vampires behind, and Remick kind of leaps in the air, and then it cuts, so you don't quite know what's happened. Essentially, Mary's becomes a vampire, and then it really starts kicking off, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we won't get into all the details, but essentially, people start. Well, where's Cornbread gone? He went out to take a piss, and he's walked to like Georgia or something like that. It's so pissed like that. But then people start saying, "Are you going to invite me in?" And it's like, well, you've been in there. Why do you need to be invited? And they start clicking on. And Annie starts thinking, this ain't right. And she thinks there's something called hates. She knows. She thinks they're hates.
Yeah,
But
I
then
had to
it
look this
becomes
up actually because I had not heard
they're
of
kind of
hates.
ghoulish creatures, right?
Yeah, yeah, interesting
Like
though.
soulless creatures, I think. I think that's what they are. I'm not
Yeah,
entirely sure.
essentially, and they would just call us like mischief, basically.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was like kind of like a little
Will o' the
like a
Wisp.
ghost. Yeah,
Yeah, Will
exact
o' the
Will o' the
Wisp.
Wisp. Yes,
Kind of.
perfect example.
But then, from the way everything starts turning out, it's clear they're vampires. And Annie kind of knows some of the lore. And he says, well, they can't stand this and garlic and stuff like that. Also, we also get a turn for another song from Perline. And there's also a bit of a physical thing between Perline and Sammy, right?
Indeed. Yeah, oh, yeah.
As well. That's kind of nice. They're nice couple and they're getting on well and stuff like that. But they realise there's something up, and essentially more and more vampires are being made, but they need to be invited in. It's kind of the thing. But though, I think that bit of lore goes out the window eventually, doesn't it? There's so many of them, and also it's not just they're creating people for the club. More are turning up. There's crowds turning up, and we see them all singing together and
Yeah, you
reveling
get
in the
that
music.
get
They're
that
listening
Irish
to the music
jig.
inside. Yeah, it's some really great songs.
I
mean,
love, yeah,
but it's
I
folk
love the
music
Irish
too.
jig.
It's like Irish folk music and stuff like that, and old country music as well. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, yeah. The music in
The
this film
soundtrack's
so
going to be
good.
great. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
So
man, yeah, I can't wait to listen to that.
And for example, the Chinese couple Bo and I can't remember her name, Grace.
Yes,
Bo
Grace.
gets changed and said, "Let us in." And the whole thing with the vampires is we're all happy. We all get on. It doesn't Colour doesn't matter to us.
Right.
What does it matter? We'll find whoever. And he even then mentions, yeah, these were the this is the nephew of the guy that sold you this place, head of the KKK. He doesn't marry anyone. We'll go and find that racist bastard and sort him out for you. Just let us in. There's all this, right?
Let the right one in.
But they know they got to be protected. And then we get a scene where basically there's only a few left. It appears, though it's almost like all the patrons disappear for some scenes and then come back. Where it's like, well, we got to figure out if any of us are vampires because sketchy stuff's happened. And they got pickled garlic and they're passing around a jar of garlic and everyone's got to take a bite. It's kind of reminiscent of the thing,
yes,
with the blood.
absolutely.
It's reminiscent of that. It's a nod towards that. That's a great scene.
It's a really tense situation.
But they figure out no one is a vampire, from in their little group. So there's that. But there's all this tension going on. Essentially, it turns into a big attack at the end, doesn't it? And
it's definitely really kind of from dusk till dawn.
It turns into like the vampires and Delta's kind of trying to hold them back, but he even tempts them onto him by cutting his own arm, saying, come on, let's go, and all this. But it's kind of not working out. They're all trying to get out. What is it? I can't remember. Smoke or Stack, one of them gets turned by Mary. Well, it'll be no. What am I saying? It'll be Stack, won't it? Stack gets turned by Mary. But at one point, Annie, the hoodoo practitioner, says, "If I'm turned, you got to kill me. I do not want to be stuck in this place. There's someone waiting for me, and there's someone waiting for you."
Yeah,
right?
yeah, so, beautiful scene.
Yeah. So there is that, and essentially they kind of get decimated. But as the night goes on, we're getting closer and closer to the dawn. But Sammy manages to get away. But really, Remic's only interested in Sammy, isn't he? He really wants Sammy to join him. So Remick must, and he talks about things. At one point, Sammy starts doing the Lord's Prayer, and he goes, "Oh, the people that forced us off our land taught us this, but I still get comfort from him." So he's talking about the Irish potato famine or before. He's an ancient being. He's much older than everyone else.
Yeah, I think maybe he's even referring to like
even earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Like the first
it might be the Vikings or something. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
And he even says the Lord's Prayer with Sammy, doesn't he?
Which I thought that was freaky. I was like, oh man, because normally, the vampire's gonna kind of shriek away from that
Repelled,
stuff, right? It's
repelled.
repelled, yes,
It
but
was great. It was great.
oh,
But
so
Sammy
good.
then hits him with his guitar and gets a bit, it's a bit of his guitar gets stuck in the vampire's head. The resonator bit of the guitar. But then the sun comes up and kind of destroys the vampires. So all that's left really is Sammy and Smoke, right?
Yeah, yeah,
All that's left after all this. Um, and the
yeah. Of
joint
course, the
is still intact, but the vampires appear to have all been destroyed. But we don't see specific individuals getting destroyed; we just see a group. But yeah, it's really cool. I love the bit where all the vampires are dancing around in circles and singing their songs because
oh
we
yeah, I
see
do too.
people that were in the Duke dancing with them, and Mary dancing with them, and Stack dancing with them, in the background and stuff like that.
It's
It's
such a
really,
great scene.
yeah. But that's the point where Sammy basically gets in the car and goes back to but to his father's
To the
church,
church, yeah, from the
and
beginning.
comes from the beginning. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
Smoke, because of what was said during the night, Smoke knows the KKK are coming in the morning,
right.
starts setting up for it, and he's got this case full of, he's got like sniper rifles, machine guns, Tommy guns, he's got the like grenades, and these arseholes turn up and he decimates them pretty much. Though he does
Yeah,
get shot himself, doesn't he?
he
Um,
does. This whole scene
and
surprised me though, because I
yeah,
really thought the movie would have ended,
was going
when
to end
Sammy
there.
goes back to the church.
Yeah, so this is I mentioned this. I felt when I first watched it, there were two scenes too long, and this is the first of those. However, there's some really deep stuff in this where he sees Annie, who died during the night. He sees
Yes.
her nursing their baby girl who has died. He actually sees
Yeah.
them, right, while he's
See,
bleeding
yeah,
out, right.
right.
So
So he's
he
going to be with
knows
them.
he's
Yeah.
going to be with them. So that, and then while he goes, "Can I hold her?" The head of the KKK, who's shot on the floor, kind of begs for mercy and wants, says, "I've got money. I can give you money." He just machine guns him
Yeah.
quite rightly,
Yeah.
because he
Nice
interrupted
to
this
see.
beautiful moment. So that's cool. But Sammy, what we find is Sammy decides not to do what his father says, and he moves on to Chicago. Just goes to Chicago, and then the next scene is him as an old man playing the blues. Got his own club in Chicago. They're played by Buddy Guy, which is kind of cool. Buddy Guy's not a great actor, but he's really good in this little bit in terms of seeing him as a blues man. He's reasonably, he's made up. He's got the scars on his face to look like the young Sammy. And he's
Yeah.
playing Chicago blues rather than Delta blues. He's, electric and stuff like that.
Which I love too, I mean,
Yeah. It's a different sound, but yeah,
it
and
is definitely a
and
different
it doesn't
sound.
feel jarring because everyone learns new stuff as they age. So yeah, he's learned to more Chicago blues. But then as the club's shutting up, he gets visitors, and it is basically Mary and Stack who haven't aged a day,
Yeah.
and they're done up in modern clothes.
Yeah, 90s
Uh,
90s clothes too. I noticed
yeah,
he's wearing
yeah.
like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air shirt, and it's
Which works with the age type, because it's Sammy's a young man in the 30s, so the 90s feels about right
right. It
for him being an
does.
old man. And Mary's all, done up like a modern 90s girl kind of thing. And he goes
Indeed.
and sits
Yeah.
with them, and he says, yeah, I basically Smoke let him live on the promise he would never bother Sammy or anyone again.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, did this scene shock you when they first come through that door, Mark, or like
Yeah,
what
it's
were you
like,
thinking?
what?
Because I
I thought
was
they
like,
died.
yeah, I was like, what is going on here?
But then I thought about, oh no, we didn't actually see them burn. We saw loads of others burn, but we didn't
Right.
see them burn. Um,
Indeed. Yeah.
and then he sort of says, yeah, and he starts saying, yeah, the electric stuff's all right, but it ain't like the proper, you know, wooden guitar blues.
Yeah.
He starts lamenting. And then he says to the old Sammy, want to stick around longer? I can make that happen. And Sammy says, I've seen enough of this world. I don't need to
Which
see any more.
which I thought was really that was a cool line too, just a cool moment the way it was acted. And
Yeah.
I think like, yeah, eventually once you've probably reached that age, you hopefully you've done all you want to do, and you can say, yeah, like I've seen enough, enough of this old world. I think a lot of older people tend to feel that way. At least the older people I've known who passed on, So a
Yeah,
very impactful scene there.
yeah. Yeah. And then the film ends with another musical sort of well, credits. Um, Terrific film.
Oh my
Absolutely
gosh.
terrific film.
Yeah.
Made a lot of money. I'm glad to say. I'm really pleased it did. 364 million, and it had to make 185 apparently to break even. So it made double that, which is great.
Well deserved, and I think we maybe have a franchise here. I say
Maybe,
that
but
I'm a
I'm
little
happy with
scared.
Ryan Coogler just moving on to other things.
Yeah,
Like,
I am too. If he just did this one film, that's fine. But I think if he has other ideas for it, then that's great too. But wow.
intriguing title because I'm not sure it entirely fits. It's an
Yeah,
intriguing
yeah.
title because it isn't specifically about sinning and how it comes back to you. I have to say, I watched another blues film that this reminded me of a few weeks after this, and we recorded on my podcast about it called Crossroads, which is an '80s road movie about the Delta Blues. Really good film too, really interesting film. Obviously not a horror film. Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, a bit older than when he played Danny in the Karate Kid, but
Oh, nice.
he's playing the guitar and stuff. It's kind of cool. But
Have to check
yeah,
that one out. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, I really, really dug this. I thought it was a terrific film.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes, 97%.
Nice. Well,
Yeah,
well deserved.
yeah. I can't see why you'd ever give this a bad review. So yeah,
I can't either. Yeah.
yeah,
It's really one of the finest, like I say, finest modern horror movies that I've
yeah,
seen. Just a great movie. Even if you don't say the horror genre, it's just a great movie.
yeah, and the score is amazing too.
Absolutely.
So yeah, not really much more to say. It's just a really good. Let's get to scoring, and we've got some feedback, so we can score and then get onto the feedback.
Yeah, let's do that. Mark, do you want to score this one first?
Yeah, 10.
Yeah.
Weirdly,
for me.
when I went back to what was it, Letterboxd to add my new entry, I'd realised I'd only given it a 4 out of 5, which is like, why did I only give it a 4 out of 5? I don't really understand that. And weirdly, I did give it a 4.5 out of 5 when I read, but I actually think this is a straight 5. Actually,
Yeah, it's certainly that for me too.
yeah, it's just so solid.
I mean,
You find it pretty much flawless, right? I had issues with the first watch, which have gone away now, frankly.
Yeah, I'm excited to do a second watch because it is so good. But at the same time, I kind of wanted to do this podcast first before I give it a second watch because certain movies, it's like a fine wine. Like you don't want to overindulge in it, I guess, so to speak. But
it's certainly why I put it there with like the Wicker Man and stuff like that. In terms of,
I would too.
I will be watching it over and over the years.
Yeah,
it's just one of those. There's just something really charming about it, and it feels almost like nothing is wasted. There's a reason for all of the meetings and the words, and you kind of understand the cultural stuff quite well, and it's just really well balanced. It's so well balanced.
I feel like you could even watch just certain scenes from this, and even just taking in individual scenes would be impactful. And that's just to me the kind of one of the signs of a really good film, and also just really good actors and direction. Just it's movie art in its purest form because filmmaking is such a collaborative process, and when you can bring those sights and those sounds together in this sort of just perfect way, that's when you have something special, is what I'm trying to say. And this is something special, something very special in my opinion.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I was wondering if certain elements would come back. I was wondering if the Choctaw vampire hunters would turn up near the end.
I was too, yeah.
And things like that, because it's such an intrigue. I mean, if you're going to do anything, a prequel with them would be really interesting, wouldn't it?
Yes, it
Native
really
Americans,
would.
vampire hunters. It's kind of an interesting idea. and all the weird creatures out in the old west, they could be dealing with. And there's quite a legacy. I've watched quite a lot recently of quite unusual horror films set in the old west. I think I've talked about it many times. Like there's that one with I forgot what his name is, the big beefy actor, and Sandra Locke, but I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, that would be kind of intriguing. We've basically it's a high recommend, right?
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. Like I feel like you kind of owe it to yourself, and I'm curious what other UNH fans will think of it as well.
Well, I can tell you one UNH's opinion of it because I've got his feedback right here.
Awesome. Hey, perfect segue.
Yeah. So this is from Kevin Matthews, a big friend of the show. Hi, Kevin.
Indeed.
Hope you're well. Thank you again. You're a very solid contributor.
Yes, thank you so much
for our feedback. Yeah. This is quite long, so I will start.
All right, I will settle in.
What it says is, Sinners is a bit of a something for everyone. If you're a fan of Michael B. Jordan, then you get double Michael B. Jordan, and he's great in both roles, and he is. Yeah, it works well. They're very similar twins, but there's enough there that they are distinct characters. If you want some vampire action, you get it. If you want some energetic music sequences, then oh boy, you really get it. It's a shame that Coogler doesn't just dive right into making this a musical. That would be something. It comes very close to being one anyway, but you can tell that people seriously consider the balance of everything here. Yeah, like I haven't read through this.
Yeah.
But that reflects, like, I couldn't believe how well balanced the whole thing was.
Yeah.
There's also some solid drama as well as a comment on those who haven't been othered by society, banding together to become stronger and less afraid. Oh, sorry, who have been, I've misread that, who have been othered, treated as other by society. That's a very nice way of putting it. Banding together, becoming stronger and less afraid. The problem that Sinners has is that Coogler doesn't quite get the mix right. It feels like an accomplished first or second feature, considering how much he tries to cram into the film. I don't know, Kevin. I think it is well balanced. Maybe rewatches will make that clearer one way or the other for either of us. You're right. Maybe
I'm curious.
You'll feel it is more balanced the more you watch, and I'll feel it's less balanced. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a really fine tightrope, this film. That's the thing. There is a lot going on.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah. And he goes on to say there's even a coda which would have been arguably worked better as an extra short, provided as some supplementary treat when the film hits the home market. I assume he's talking about the bit with where he's an older Sammy. But yeah, I can consider.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like I say, it troubled me the first time I watched it, but not the second. He then goes on to say there's one sequence that is already a strong contender for scene of the year, and we know which sequence he's talking about. And I say that as someone who doubts that this film will make my own personal top 10 when such things are due to be considered. Now, this for me is a top 10, possibly the best film of the year. I'm not sure I've seen a better film this year.
I know I haven't. So I mean, we'll see.
I've seen a lot of horror. We've done the old Final Destination #6.
Oh yeah.
Megan 2's out shortly. I'm looking forward to that. Long Walk's out shortly. Looking forward to that. But for me, Superman. So far, this is Superman. This is the film. Thunderbolts I quite enjoyed it, but this is the film of the year so far for me.
So yeah, same here. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll tell you though, I think this is one that I'm going to keep coming back to. So,
Yeah, this is a high point of horror for me. And he goes on to then say, it wants to be so many things, though, including a decade-spanning epic in the style of at least one other sexy vampire tale I could mention. Yeah, Dust Till Dawn, right?
Indeed. No doubt about that. No doubt.
Yeah, and there's also hints, I think, of Interview with the Vampire, I think, in some ways.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about the Theatre de Vampire bits of that. Music is a thing, and theatricality is a thing. The fact that it doesn't hit every target that Coogler is aiming for doesn't make it a bad film and doesn't make it a waste of your time. It's just a shame that it may end up leaving some people, like myself, a bit unsatisfied when thinking of the many ways the ingredients could have been adjusted to improve the end results. Again, I don't feel it needs improvement. I feel like the balance is really good. Myself. Second watch, though, keep stressing I came to that opinion from a second watch.
Right.
And it may change again with another watch. It might be, oh, yeah, that drags a bit, or that, I wish I'd have seen more of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Having just said that, I was very satisfied with a certain moment that happened near the very end of the movie. Something that felt cathartic and already clearly underlined a point about monsters not needing to be fanged and or supernatural. I'm guessing that's dealing with the KKK he's talking about. Which we spoiled anyway, right?
Yeah. At this point,
Yeah. And I was very pleasantly surprised to see a film that felt justifiably adult and occasionally sexy in a way that never felt patronizing or cynical. Sorry for the essay. If it is you don't have to be sorry. That was
no.
I mean, that was absolutely fine.
And this is the kind of film where I think you're going to have a lot of opinions and thoughts about it because it is just such a well-made film.
It's a rich film.
Jim.
One way I spot really good films is when I'm still thinking about them 3 or 4 days after seeing them. And this was one of those. Pearl was one of those.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's Mandy before that probably was one of those. Those some of the high points for me of horror in the last 10 years. So Sinners is among that group for me personally.
Yeah, and for me as well. I think we both really like this one a lot. But and of course over time, film changes and feelings on certain films change as well. So it will be interesting to see how it holds up long term. But boy, right now I'm riding high on this one, to say the least.
Yeah, it's an impressive film. It is an impressive film. I think we're about done there, personally.
I think so as well. Yeah. Shall I close this out?
Yeah, close this out.
All right. Well, thanks so much to everyone for listening. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate your feedback. You can visit us on Facebook. And oh my goodness, I thought I had the URL in front of me. I do. Here we go. So visit us on Facebook. We are on facebook.com/groups/UN of horror. And so come interact with us. One of us, as we say, Mark. You can also find us on YouTube. We do upload the episodes in audio format. Where you can find us on Spotify, on iTunes, wherever you get your fine podcasting selections. So check us out there. Check us out on YouTube. And Mark, we will be back soon. We're not exactly sure what we're doing next, but I guarantee you we will have lots of good stuff in the future. So bye from me.
And bye from me.
And we'll see you next time right here on the United Nations of Horror.
The United Nations of Horror is a podcast about all things horror. From thrillers of yesteryear to today's modern horror, we are here to present fun and intelligent conversation about the genre films we love. Join us and please help spread the word about the United Nations of Horror podcast and videocast to horror fans across the globe. Find the podcast on all fine podcasting services. Join us on Facebook by simply going to facebook.com and entering in United Nations of Horror. You can also find us on YouTube by going to youtube.com and searching for United Nations of Horror podcast.